KOLs here. So here's an update that I wanted to talk to you about today because we go through this so often is relapse. And since we talked last, my son has had a relapse and is struggling with the fentanyl again and has detoxed a couple times. And as far as we know, is still doing well, but not convinced. And since he's living across the country, we don't really have a great read on this necessarily. So, what occurred to me was with him relapsing, was that there's kind of maybe even a corresponding relapse on my side of the equation in terms of the being triggered by his relapse. And then therefore I kind of step back into the unsettledness, the worry, maybe some sleepless nights. And so that's the loved one's relapse. And I began to kind of think about this through that lens. And his relapse was somewhat of a trigger for me, I guess. Although they're getting much less, I think, invasive or impactful from I don't go to, oh my God, or I don't go to crisis anymore. I go to, okay, this is information. I'm sad. And I only stay there for a little while because I realize that's not helpful to me. It's not helpful to him. And so in my own experience on the other side of, you know, my experience with his relapse, I'm rethinking this. And so I think I just wanted to share rethinking this with you today, because I think along the lines of dealing with somebody that you love dearly that is dealing with addiction, relapse is part of the story, generally speaking. And then how we continue to progress in our own response to their relapses is our journey. And I still go back to the 5 acts of courage is feel first. And I felt sad and I cried. And when I found out I was alone at home, my Patty was in Arizona and visiting friends, and I wasn't going to talk to her until that night. And so I was kind of left to my own devices, so to speak, which this happens a lot. And I'm sure that some of you can relate as you listen to this is, okay, now what do I do with this? Who am I in this? And I continue to want to be choiceful in this. I did not want to drop back into, oh my God, crisis. Should I fly out there? Should I, research rehabs in that community? Should I do the things that in the early days of this, I was much more involved in fixing this, and it's not mine to fix. And because I have an adult son who's 32, and I can certainly love him and I always will. And then I need to manage myself in the midst of his suffering and figure out, who do I want to be in this? And so feeling is the number one act of courage, which I think takes tremendous courage to allow ourselves to just kind of drop into what is it we're feeling, whether it's, are we angry? Are we frustrated? Are we sad? Are we devastated? Are we grief stricken? Are we heartbroken? Are we hopeful that this is the last relapse? What emotions are we feeling? And there's usually not just one, there's usually a cascade of them and different ones, and sometimes at the same time. And it can be a little crazy making. So all I would say is allow the feelings to move through you, release them, cry, do things that will help you cry if you need to do that, talk it out with a friend. And please don't stay in anger about this. It is part of the disease. And anger, 5 minutes of anger is going to suppress your immune system for 3 hours. So it doesn't serve you. And your anger doesn't serve them. It's not going to make any difference in terms of fixing it. The only thing you can do is your work. And so the second thing in the 5 acts of courage is self-care, which is, wow, that's just a default that I drop to routinely now. It is ingrained in my thinking, in my habits. And so once again, I up leveled in terms of my self-care, and which I'm very routine oriented relative to self-care and getting exercise, sleeping well, eating cleanly. I do not drink. I do not do drugs. I'm not a workaholic. So I am as present for my life as possible. I love what I do, but I'm not doing it all the time. So the self-care is meditation. So one of the things that I did in one of our acts, the 5th act, is vigilant learning. So part of my self-care was to sign myself up for a positive intelligence 6-week course. And I highly recommend the book, Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Shamin. You can get it through Amazon. And it is brilliant from my perspective in terms of understanding how to take our power back over our own lives and our own reactions and our own thoughts and retrain ourselves from a brain perspective, because we all have habits of thought and we all have habits of behavior. The amazing thing about that is that if they don't serve us, we can change them. And of course, this takes work. It takes practice. It's going to be awkward at first, and then it's going to be mechanical second, and then it's going to be natural as the third thing that you're going to step into. And so the self-care component for me is very natural. And I just continue to lean in and learn and incorporate more things that I do that are self-care for me, and make sure that I'm being the best version of me. And so I'm learning positive intelligence from learning how to take care of myself better, my mind better, pattern interrupt my thoughts so that I can be choiceful about what they are, and retraining my thought patterns, and then retraining my behavior. And so I am more often now, because of this program, getting on my app and listening to at least, I think, 20 minutes a day of throughout the day, not 20 minutes at a time, but cumulatively 20 minutes a day. So it could be 2 minutes at a time, could be 5 minutes at a time, or it could be 12 minutes at a time. These certain breathing patterns, meditation patterns, and that's really helping me. What I will say is, listening to one of those meditation programs on my app at the end of the day to help me sleep better at night, I'm sleeping really well. And that's usually kind of the thing where I would very much struggle with that. So if any of you are struggling with the sleeping part, and because sleep is so critically important for us to take care of ourselves and be on the top of our game. And so I'm a huge proponent of, please, please, please Google healthy sleep patterns. Find something that works for you that isn't self-medicating, that is natural ways of helping yourself be able to sleep, and sleep well, and sleep deeply. So Google healthy sleep patterns and look at positiveintelligence.com. Look at Bill Crawford's YouTube channel for Life from the Top of the Mind. He has some really great material on there also. And of course, there are all kinds of apps on that you can get, whether it's Calm or any other apps that are available. Just again, look for sleep apps that will help you so you can center up and breathe and get present and calm your mind. Calm your mind. And then calm your body so you can sleep well at night. So then the third thing is the community, and community matters. So I have several communities that are rich and thriving and hold the space for me and support me no matter what's going on. They're checking in with me. How you doing? How's Sam doing? They listen, no judgment. and they ask questions so I can air it out. Sometimes they ask really great questions and I get to think about things differently. So community matters. And then fourth is working on what are your beliefs? What are your thought patterns? What what are the questions that you can ask yourself that will serve you much better than why is this happening again? Why can't he get his act together? Why do we have to keep going through this? Those questions, absolutely not serving, will take you down the rabbit hole of despair. And I'm not willing to go down that rabbit hole. So I'm shifting, and I have been shifting my questions for years now so that they continue to serve at a much higher level. So I'm asking myself, okay, what can I do to take care of myself? Because that's my side of the road is self-care. What can I do to ratchet up my self-care? And how can I be as calm and centered and supportive of where Sam is and drop the judgment, drop the questions, drop the notion that the information that I'm going to get from him is going to be clear or succinct or even focused. Sometimes I'm going to get part of the information. Sometimes I'm not going to get correct information. And so I don't get all wrapped up around the axle anymore about the information that he gives me. And so I set two intentions this last time. One was just to hear his voice every once in a while so I know he's alive. And two was just to hear his voice every once in a while to know that we're still connected. And that he still knows that he's loved no matter what. That is it. I don't have any other expectations. His rehab is his to do. His life is his to do. If he asks me, you know, what he thinks I should, what he thinks I think he should do. Sometimes this last time I said, please just give all of your drugs, whatever you bought, to your girlfriend. And then go look for a rehab to detox in, which is exactly what happened. And we'll support you. We'll talk to you. We did talk to him in rehab. He was only able to be there for a few days, which is very typical because he doesn't have the insurance. And this was not a rehab that took indigent people. So again, pay attention to the questions that are rolling through your mind. Are they actually serving you in a way that helps you thrive or struggle or survive? Pull yourself up out of the crisis of the moment because you will be able to serve not only yourself, but your family and the one that you love that's dealing with substance abuse disorder much, much better. And then finally, the fifth act of courage is vigilant learning. So again, I go to my podcasts. I have a podcast that I listen to just about weekly. It's called Sideways. It's out of the UK. And I love the two gentlemen that are on there. One is recovering alcoholic. The other is a therapist, and they've known each other since they were kids. And they are funny, and they are poignant, and they are vulnerable and truth tellers. So just so happened that around that time, they had a podcast about causes of relapse. And that was super helpful for me to remind myself that it is the unicorn that sets an intention to stop drinking or doing drugs. And that's the last time they pick up a drug or a drink. That is not typical. So pay attention to what you are listening to, what you're reading, who you're hanging out with, and the kind of music that you're listening to. Again, I had a client just recently that I was talking to, and I said, "Are you watching the news?" And they were like, "Yes." And I said, "You're in a very vulnerable place right now. And the news, is not serving you at all. Take a hiatus for a month. If something you need to know shows up, your husband will tell you. A friend will tell you. So cut the news out and listen or watch uplifting rom-coms, comedians, things that make you laugh. Laughter is one of the great, great, great medicines that we can employ ourselves. If you have a laughing buddy, reach out to them, and let them know what's happening. But what you really need is you need a really great laugh. And you need to be able to look at this through sometimes a sick lens that makes you laugh. So make that happen. Take your power back. Make the phone call. Turn off your Facebook. Turn off the news. Turn off the things that do not serve you. You do not need to know what's happening with the Kardashians. You do not need to know what's happening in the political arena at this point on both sides of the equation. So you're the keeper of your mindset. You're the keeper of your psychology set. You're the keeper of your heart set. And you're the keeper of your soul set. So guard that really, really, really at a high level. And you will begin to feel the turn energetically so that you can rise out of the situation that you're dealing with. So I remember there's a story, I don't know if I've told this before, that really, really resonated with me. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about an NFL player who had been injured in football. And he potentially was going to be paralyzed from the waist down. And so his mom sat outside his hospital door for weeks and months and would not let anybody in unless they came in with a positive attitude and a belief that, in fact, he would walk again and he would be able to determine if he wanted to go back to the NFL. Be the mom sitting outside your mind. Guard it vigilantly. You are really the only one who can do that. And as it turned out, this young man walked again and was cleared to play football. He chose not to, and now is on the speaker circuit. So it just matters how we look at life, the beliefs that we hold, the things we tell ourselves, the questions that we ask ourselves, the things that we surround ourselves with, the people, the news, the movies. What are we reading? Really pay attention to what you're reading, making sure that you are the keeper of your mindset, your physicality, your emotions, and your spirit. And I think that's all I have for today is these things are going to happen. Relapses are going to happen. And we are the determiner of how far our relapse goes when we have a loved one who relapses. So pay attention. Pay attention to what you're doing. And know in your heart of hearts that every time you stop to think about how you're going to respond, what you're going to think about, where you're going to focus your attention on, and all of the things that we've just talked about, you're making progress. And progress is success. Progress is success. So pat yourself on the back, mark those micro successes as moments, because when you stack those micro successes, they matter. And then they begin to help you move in the direction of thriving. So remember, we're here for you. If you need us, reach out to us. Stay on top of your game so that you can be there when they pop out the other side. Okay. Have a great month. Thinking about you. Love you. Take care.